stuck here. The cops won't bother me. Hey squids, I just wanted to show you my collection of current motorcycles. Pretty cool. I wanted to show you first the Ninja 250 that I got. This is an 010 Ninja 250. The reason the seat is out is because I need a new battery, so I'm waiting for a new battery. But I just cleaned the carbs on it. It was given to me free by Nathan, which is pretty amazing. I'm going to like email him and say, hey, if you want the bike back, you can have it. I just paid $25 for the battery, so not a lot of expense on my end. But you know, that was a nice gesture of him, but I want to make sure that he really wants to give it to me. He probably does, I don't know, but it's a really good bike. I just wanted to show you really quick the 3 bikes that I have. This is a 250. It weighs about 380 pounds, so it's pretty light. And there are bikes like GSXR 600s that are about that same weight, but the problem is they have much more rotational mass than a 250 because the engine on this is so much smaller. So it feels almost like a bicycle when you're tossing it around the corner, so it makes a really good commuter. And also the seating position on it is not as intense as most people think. It's very upright and it's very easy to ride. This particular bike has got 7,000 miles and it looks exactly like the 08 that I had, same color and everything. And I remember when I rode with Nathan, when I first met him, I was riding my Ninja 250 and he had his Ninja 250. So it's kind of cool that this bike has made its way into my garage, and he started learning on this bike, and now he's got like a Triumph, 2 Triumphs, and he had a Transalp in his garage, so that's kind of cool. The only thing I need are tires for the bike, and there is some like rust here in the exhaust, but no big deal. This bike is practically new. I just got to change the oil and the tires and they'll be that. And in contrast, you have this big massive FJR 1300 that I do like, and I'm liking it more and more. So one of the things I'm finding with the FJR and the FJR owners is that it's a good community of bikes, and it's a bunch of like riders that really ride. And I have seen the FJR 1300 with about 200,000 miles. There's a lot of them running around still with over 150,000 miles. So this is a bike that's incredibly durable, and this is a Gen 1, so this is a 2005, and the 2005s, they apparently have some issues with the chain, the cam chain. It makes noise like a ticking. But honestly, I find that it's a little bit overblown because I've found that Yamaha engines do tick with time, and I'm not really worried about the bike ticking. It's just the least of my problems. But this one is really good. It's a missile. I mean, I do like, if you're ever coming off of this and then you get on this is just, it's a tank, but it's so fast and so powerful. And I put the new front tire, so that's ready to go. 1300cc engine, so that's a really fast engine, and it's got a shaft drive. The previous owner dropped it on the side here, but this is really comfortable, really fascinating bike, and it's got the C. Bailey windscreen. I also got the stock windscreen. It's got the trunk, the top trunk, and I fixed it up here with some epoxy. So it's not a particular good color that I like. I don't like blue bikes, but it's still good. And look at this, it only has 50,000 miles. Let me start it up for you. That's the pump priming, and it sounds really good, and it starts right up. It's got the stock seat, but I also have a Orban seat for it. I do like how Yamaha sound. They sound really good. If I keep the FGR, I'm definitely going to dark side it. That is, put a car tire on it. I know that a lot of people are polarized whenever I say that, and they look down on you, but I don't really care. I've had these big bikes before, so I know that they consume a lot of tires. So it's a very simple dash, and it's very antiquated. So this is very old looking. There's only 2 buttons, so it's only got 49.681 miles. It's got fuel gauge, the time, the temperature, and then you have the dummy lights here, speedo and pack. So that's the basic of the FGR. But look at this, you do have this really good feature, which is a electronic windscreen. So this thing goes up and down as you ride, and I didn't think I'd like that feature. I thought it was a little bit too complex for riding. It's like much more added weight. So this one weighs 380 pounds. This weighs like 650 pounds. So this is a porker of a bike, but I find that pushing it around the garage is hard. Turning very tight corners, tight turns, not corners, is hard. But then when you get on any sort of back road, this feels absolutely fine. There's no issue. It's just a big bike. It's just a big, heavy bike. It feels much more like a fast, comfortable sport bike than it does a touring bike. And on this one, this is quite a fascinating bike. This is perhaps one of the most underrated bikes I've seen in motorcycles in a very long time. Let me just close this so you can see how it looks. The NC700, now they have the NC750, is really underrated, and I'm really liking this bike. So first, I really like the styling of the ADV bikes. It's I think it's a lot more interesting. It's also very comfortable. But the NC700X is really odd. It's an odd duckling of a bike, and I think it makes probably one of the better commuters you can possibly get. And at first I thought the V-Strom, I still think the V-Strom is really good, but the NC is so weirdly quirky and usable. So it's got that weird engine that faces forward, 60 degrees forward, and it's got a very good engine. It's slow, so you're not going to win any races on this bike. It's a slow bike, but it's deceivingly fast. It's torquey for an inline 2, and I mean, it's just, read up on these because these are fascinating. So this one gets 70 miles to the gallon. That's scooter-like mileage. This one gets like 35 miles to the gallon, and that gets about 65 miles to the gallon too. So this is a 700, gets the same mileage as that one. This one uses something that I really like for bikes. It's the nut and adjuster for the valves. These don't. So these are so complex. I hate doing that. But this one is easy, and it's very easy to reach because all you have to do is pull out the radiator. There is no gas tank here. The gas tank is actually here, and it kind of sits down here. So the weight of this bike is incredibly low. Compared to the FGR, the weight is just so much higher up because you have like 6 gallons of gas here. So the top becomes extremely heavy. And then they put the battery up top here, which doesn't make a lot of sense. So one of the things I would do is when this battery dies, I put like a lithium battery just to keep the weight lower up top. But this one, the weight up top is gone. I've never ridden a bike that feels so light, other than this. The V-Strom is about the same weight. It's like 10 pounds heavier, and it's got like 20 more horsepower. But this one the weight is just so much lower because the engine is like facing forward. So look at this. Look how big this compartment is. It's really large. I could put my entire hand here. You can put a full-size helmet here. So this makes a really good commuter. You don't have to buy bags. You don't have to buy a tank bag. So if you're just going to work in Washington DC, you can just put all your stuff in here, and that's all you need. That's a great idea by Honda. My complaint about this bike is that, well, you know, I always have a few complaints. My complaint is that, first, this is a 2012, and Honda didn't see it to put a miles per gallon calculator on here, and that's kind of lame. Also, this just seems a little cheap. I don't know, it might be just, I'm becoming a little bit obsessed, but when you compare this to the quality of this, it's very different. I know that these are two different budget bikes, two different budgets. That's an entry level. This is not an entry level at all. This is a very substantial bike. But I feel that Honda, hey Sophie, I feel that Honda should have used a little bit more fit and finish in this. And there isn't a big aftermarket for the NC 700 that I see. The NCs are much more popular in Europe than they are in the United States. But because of this bike, it's actually much narrower as well than the V-Strom. This thing is just really good to ride. And look at this, here's the gas tank right in the back. So that's kind of a fascinating position for it, and it makes a lot of sense when you think about this bike as a bike that you keep for a very long time and you put on tons of miles. And by the way, I didn't think that people would put a lot of miles on this bike. I have seen this NC 700X on several groups with from 150,000 miles to I think it's 190,000 miles. So people are putting a lot of miles on this bike, and I didn't realize how incredibly reliable it was. When I was riding it, I didn't think that this would be as durable as the V-Strom. The V-Strom is very difficult to find a better bike, but this thing just seems to be as durable. Except, yeah, I think perhaps one of the reasons it's as durable is that it's not as powerful, so the revs are really low. So the engine is very unstressed in riding conditions. The V-Strom revs a lot higher. The Ninja 250, 08, 09, whatever the new gens, I know for a fact you can put 80,000 miles on them, because I put my 08 Ninja 250 to 87,000 miles, and I didn't need any work other than routine maintenance and some problems with the carbs that I've had. But this one is fuel injection, the FJR is fuel injected. Of all these three bikes, I find it hard to pick a bike to ride because they're all good. You know, if I was to ride with sport bikes, of course, I think I like the Ninja 250. It is a little bit different because you can't really keep up with 600 cc's in the straight line, but it's very competent in twisty roads. The FJR is very good for twisty roads and for going for long voyages, but it's also extremely heavy. But that's a good bike to take on sport bike rides because there's no issue keeping up with sport bikes at all. And the NC, I think that's the better bike. I think that's the bike I prefer. The only thing I don't really like is the chain drive. I wish it was a shaft driven bike, and I kind of wish that Honda even put a belt system on it. It would be kind of cool because after all it's a new concept, so it would have been awesome to have a belt driven system like BMWs and Zero bikes have. But let's start this bike up. Oh, another complaint that I have is that, so you have to take the key from the ignition to put it here to open up this and this. It would have been much better to have some way of doing that just from having the key here, but beggars can't be choosers. So let's go ahead and start this. Starts right up. It's very quiet, right Sophie? Right cutie? This bike is extremely quiet, but I like that. You know, it's stealthy. You don't want to be loud if you're riding off-road. One of the things I might do is put some kind of like knobby tires on it and do a little bit more off-road riding. I do like the idea of getting crash bars, and I definitely need a center stand if I go on long rides with this. But all of these bikes make a lot of sense. You know, that's the thing, you can't just have one bike. I'm probably gonna take the NC for a ride in a little bit, but yeah, that's my current arsenal, guys. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Bye. Kind of stuck here. The cops won't bother me.